Welcome, Warrior. We have so much to discuss. I haven't been here in a couple of days because I've been running around New York City and also Washington, D.C. Let's jump right on and start with Fred, one of our biggest warriors. Thank you, Fred, for your 10 memberships to Lynn's Warriors. I am a broken record. You know what, Fred? That is so appreciated because the most important thing we can do in helping keep kids safe and educating parents and guardians and communities is getting the information out. And more than ever, we have got our work cut out for us. So let me grab my specs. Please give me a 5x5. Can you hear me? Edie says 5x5 already, so we're on top of it. Fred, thank you very much. Edie, thank you also for always pushing the likes, always reminding people, because I invariably always forget to say it once I start talking. Fred, hello, Fred, back at you. Now, I saw that. Let me make sure I'm not missing something. I saw Claudie was here. Claudie, I think this card's from you. Please confirm. It's a beautiful card that says honor the children. And thank you, great warrior. It is inscribed. Claudie, I think this is you. Thank you for this most beautiful card. It gets a frame and it's going in our warrior's office. So thank you for that. These types of things keep me empowered, as well as you all being here. Make sure you're subscribed, anybody listening to these videos, to our channel, because I never understand why people listen and don't subscribe, because it's free, it doesn't hurt, and it helps our algorithms. Let me fill you in what's going on. As I sat down to talk to all of you, I just got a press release that HHS, that would be Health and Human Services, are part of our U.S. government, is investing, let me get this story right because I'm rushing myself, is investing, everybody, $35 million in the a new human trafficking hotline. Now, not exactly new, but a new carrier for the human trafficking hotline. HHS invests $35 million to bolster National Human Trafficking Hotline and protect survivors. Now, I think this is great news because a common complaint has been that the National Human Trafficking Hotline, 888-373-7888, one that we all give out, we all have on our websites, we all are supposed to be seeing it in airlines, in the bathrooms, train stations, bus stations. That is the main depository, the main number if you are in trouble, if you see something, you are to call, to be connected to immediate resources in that area. And a common complaint has been in the last couple of years, frankly, everybody, they're not doing their job, despite being very well funded. So when the new administration came in, a common complaint is they're not picking up the phone. I have not actually, to be completely transparent, given out that number, although it's on the front of our Warriors website, in the last maybe year, hearing from survivors, from victims, from people trying to report things. They're not picking up the phones, hearing from law enforcement telling me, Lynn, we try. They get back to us 48 hours later. It's too late. I'm glad to say, I think I'll be investigating this, but the $35 million, it sounds like a lot of money, actually a drop in the bucket, but anything's better than nothing for a new service provider called Compass. I have to investigate, look into things a little bit. But again, it is in response for all of us saying they're not doing their job at the hotline and they're not getting back to people. And if you're a victim, even if you recognize that you are trafficked, you're going to be trafficked, you're in fear of being, and you have a minute to call, because remember, these predators, these criminals, they keep an eye on everything. They watch everything. It's not like you're alone. They even have, a lot of them are working with women who will go into bathrooms with girls and keep an eye. So you can't even make a phone call. So I always think when I'm in the airport and I see the sign in the ladies' room, if they're not alone and they see the sign, they can't do anything, right? They're under this force, fraud, coercion. So I'll be investigating Compass Connections that is ensuring no disruption in services, survivor safety, privacy, 24/7, 365. And I want to find out, because I did a wonderful interview with Megan Lundstrom. Please go back and look at it right here on the Warriors channel. And she had stepped up. She had taken over the hotline, and in the last few months was making tremendous strides in getting this back on track, on being proactive, new initiatives, and she's a survivor leader. Who better to lead any of these trafficking initiatives, such as the National Human Trafficking Hotline, then a survivor leader. So please go back and listen to Megan. I want to find out what is going on with all of this. All I know is they weren't doing their job. Megan stepped in to clean it up, was doing a fantastic job. I want to see how this affects her. Yes, I'll look at that later. Okay, let's get down to business. Let me just make sure. Claudie. Okay. Okay, what happened? Let me go back. Let me backtrack a little bit. First of all, we must talk about Charlie Kirk. I have to mention Charlie Kirk. I sometimes say, well, let's not be too political, but how can one not be too political when I don't really know the exact count? 100,000 people, 200,000, millions undoubtedly online, streaming, TV sets, watching the memorial service for 31-year-old Charlie Kirk, just cut down in the prime of his life. But here's what I'm about to say about the whole Charlie Kirk horror, and bless him and bless his wife, Erica, and his two beautiful children. He was a key figure for young people. I wish people could understand. I know it sounds crazy, but this is not about politics, what I'm about to say. I know it's hard for people to understand this, but he was a young person himself. He was at least out there giving voice, giving attention, giving a place to land, right? I have always known about Charlie Kirk. I've known about Turning Point USA. I did not know actually of his impact. Yes, I knew he was associated with the Trump administration. Yes, I knew he brought a lot of young voices to the table and votes. But until we went to a party the following weekend after this horrible, horrible assassination. There's no other way to put it. That's what we all witnessed. And there were young people there talking. Everybody was talking about it. And then during all of last week, no matter where I went, people were talking about it. I did not realize the impact that Charlie and Turning Point had on young people, because the thing today, we've got to focus on our young people, our kids, our youth, our young people. I'm saying 30 and under. There is a youth mental health crisis. They have no place to land. They're not being listened to. They're depressed. I could sit here and rattle off all the stats to you about what the internet has done to our young people, okay? But I'm not going to, because you know this already. You know how these algorithms have caused internet addictions, eating disorders, bullying, sextortion, trafficking. It's horrific. I just got off the phone with a colleague of mine in Texas, and we were talking about, she said to me, what the heck is going on? And I said back to her, what the heck is going on? But the one thing I do know is we have to stay in our lanes, keep chipping away at the work we do. We must twofold in the community as boots on the ground, and then also with the federal government. They work for us, right? They take our taxes. They work for us. So we will continue going. We will continue getting in their faces. We will continue monitoring. We will continue giving them, plugging in the holes. I had, okay, I'm jumping all over the place as usual, but stick with me. Legislation is necessary to change things. Why is it so slow? Why is there so much red tape? Right now, unless we get rid of, I wish everybody would face the reality, and I know Senator Josh Hawley's working on this in Washington. This Section 230 has been a thorn in my side, our side, forever. This bill, it's from 1996. So much has changed. It is holding up child safety. Our kids are at risk. We're not getting rid of the internet. We live in a digital world. We can all accept that. We all love it. I love it. I'm talking to you now. We cannot accept what's happening to our kids. We cannot accept that these big tech multi-billionaires, trillionaires, whatever they are, there's so much money, I don't even think we know how much to even quantify, call it, are allowed to create this environment that we're seeing Now, the repercussions from a select few, no matter where I turn. First, I saw big tech CEOs sitting at the inauguration with President Trump. Then I saw them sitting with our First Lady, Melania Trump, a couple of weeks ago, kind of a round table presentation in the White House. And that night, then I saw them sitting with the president and Melania Trump at a dinner. And then, TikTok, this ongoing TikTok, everybody's in fear. TikTok, I've always maintained at the Warriors that you can't just pick on TikTok. I know Chinese owned. Don't you feel like China always kind of gets a pass on everything? I'm kind of feeling that way. Whether it's, you want to go deep, everybody, Uyghurs and their trafficking of those people that are creating goods and the supply lines of goods we buy from them here in the United States that are from, let's face it, slave labor. We don't talk about that on the Warriors. We haven't gotten around to it. I'm still trying to educate everybody that we have slavery in the United States, that we have slavery and more of it than we've ever had before. Hillbilly says the parents must be held accountable for some of this. Hillbilly, we're agreeing. But it has to be a community effort. It has to be, they are allowed to make millions and billions and trillions off the backs of our children and off of us, big tech, right? And now we're sitting with AI. So I wake up to, okay, TikTok, I think it's into its fourth extension with President Trump, has to answer by December because he wants to give more time for somebody to buy it. There are going to be 7 seats, 7 companies involved in the ownership. And the administration is allowing China to be one of them and 6 other companies. And we don't know exactly yet, but these names were dropped. I heard Oracle. I heard Michael Dell. So again, TikTok being owned by these big tech people. But we have to get this Section 230. It doesn't apply anymore because the internet is quite different. We had 2 platforms in 1996. Now we've got thousands of apps and games and platforms, all kinds of stuff going on. But we're working very hard on that. But let's get back to Charlie Kirk. So, it's like my light bulb went off because I realized our young people, they need some place to land where they're felt like they're valued and they're wanted. And I know, Hillbilly, about the parents. Of course, they must be held accountable. Why? Can somebody answer here why? We have so many information available to us, whether it's the internet. There's just so much going on. Yes, you have to sort through it and vet it and kind of, have those trusted resources. Let's just take the Warriors. 24/7, I'm putting out information about, do you know what your kids are doing online? Because the predators do. You bought that device. You have every right. This is a family digital partnership. Talk to your child about what's on the phone. Who are they talking to when they're gaming? Routers, you pay for that. You pay for the internet. Why is there such resistance for parents to step up and take action? Now, that being said, in the last couple of years, I've seen a tremendous growth in parents and guardians stepping up, and grandparents. Grandparents are very concerned. They reach out to me a lot about issues. And tremendous warriors, the grandparents. They're concerned about their grandkids. Why? We lock the door. I always tell you this. Hopefully we do. We lock the front door to keep out the world, but we don't lock down the devices. This is no way, that argument that big tech funds is about privacy, invasion of privacy. This is about safety of kids. I mean, call me wacky, I like to say. I thought anything with children, predation, it's a crime. Yet big tech is allowed to do this because they're hiding under the shield of Section 230, which basically tells them we're a billboard, we're a newsstand, we can do what we want. So good news is, and we'll be on top of it with Senator Hawley, we got to sunset this thing, get rid of this thing. Doesn't apply. Everything's different, right? Don't you feel it? Everything is different. But the parents have to wake up, and I don't understand. And everybody has to try to get on this kind of same page. I know it's hard. Right now, in the area of child safety, the states are doing much better work than the federal government. That's just it. We've got state AGs all coming out, against AI chatbots, strengthening child safety. And then the other thing is we have to have more acceptance, this is happening. We can't talk about how it was when we were kids. We can't talk about just complain. We've got to start with, if you give your child a device, any device, you must have a realistic, open and honest discussion with them. I tell you, these kids are smart. 10, 12-year-olds, they know what's going on online. They know about pornography. They know about predators. They know about DMs, direct messages. They're being contacted. Okay? They're being inundated. So you sit down and be that warrior. You be that leader. And you put the restrictions on, whether it's, and again, we can't tell you there's parental autonomy, but we can suggest things such as no devices in the bedrooms. Let kids sleep at night. Let them scream and yell for a week. They'll get over it. Lead by example. Devices are in main areas of the home, right? Kids need their sleep as well. Keep the devices out of the bedroom. Let them get their sleep, right? Why does a 5-year-old need a phone? When a mother complains to me, her 5-year-old's on Tinder, I'm aghast. I can't help a mother like that who would allow a child. And even if they did give them a phone, are you not watching? How is your 5-year-old signing up for Tinder? How are 7 men talking to her? How are we allowing these predators to get to our children? Let me just go back. Claudie says, I don't want to miss comments as I'm talking. So yes, Hillbilly, parents have to really start stepping up. Really start. The predators are winning. We can't allow this. Claudia says, the parents, my siblings I had to teach my nieces and nephews all about drugs manipulate. We have to. We can't depend on schools. We can't depend on videos. We can't depend on somebody else to do it. We, no matter how busy we are, have to make our youth our priority, our future adults, our future American leaders. Because right now, what I'm seeing is horrific. However, there is an uprising. We see this with Charlie Kirk and all these young people following, and the increase in chapters in high schools and colleges. And I found out something interesting also over the weekend. A couple of people reached out to me, and they did try in the past to create high school chapters for Turning Point, and their schools wouldn't allow it. This tells you there is a hunger, a need for a place to land, I like to call it. A message of unity, a message of hopefulness, right? We have to give hope to our children. Let's forget about us for a second, because everybody's talking, we have to mentor our kids. Nobody's doing it for us. It means you have to take responsibility if you're going to give them devices and talk to them about this. You have to talk to them about, it's not just smoking pot, like, when we were kids, this marijuana. I saw a billboard the other day on the New Jersey Turnpike. It was something like, the marijuana of today is, don't hold me to this, it was something like 360% more powerful than the marijuana of the 90s because of the chemicals. Interestingly enough, a mom told me the other day whose beautiful son unalived himself. I think that's the way I'm supposed to speak here on the YouTube with algorithms, with fentanyl. Not an overdose, it's poison. From all the parents we talk and work with, no child sets out to intentionally overdose. It is a poison. Whether they bought marijuana, they think they're buying, a Percocet, an Oxy, and it's cut with the chemicals. But she told me a lot of young people are turning to meth because they think it's a cheaper, safer kind of alternative. Yet, and nobody's talking about it, she told me. And she's immersed in all of this and educates me, our warriors, about all. So we can spread the information with you. The meth is now being cut with fentanyl. Why aren't we talking about this all the time? So it's up to us to be educated and talk about these things. It is a call to duty, Fred. That's what Claudia says. Absolutely right. We must be those warriors. I'm so adamant about this, especially after last week, spending time in Washington. coming back to work with parents on Friday, right here, the Apple headquarters, 59th and 5th Avenue, New York City. Tim Cook was going to be addressing his cult, his masses, his neighborhood, because they were launching the iPhone 17. Big launch. Billboards all over New York City, outside the Lincoln Tunnel, massive billboards for this launch, right? And we, the Warriors, along with a most terrific, we have a very collaborative group called the Heat Initiative, also designed it for us, a group of young people, very angry, 30 and under, that they've been born into this digital environment. They didn't pick it. It was just thrown at them, thrown at their parents. Also, Parents Rise, mothers and fathers whose children have been harmed by the internet. Also, the Log Off movement, another group of young people. So you don't hear about this in the media, but I'm telling you about it. We're the media right now. They were there. Also, Learning Lab, doing interviews. And we showed up the night before. Homemade signs were made. These parents are so powerful. They say it is their duty to come out and educate everybody else. I can't imagine losing a child. Yet they must march. And might I say peacefully. Everything we do is peacefully. We had our great friend Chris McKenna flew in from Protect Young Eyes. We had Nikki from Scrolling to Death podcast. We had PACT, Protect Against Child Trafficking, right here in New York, our great friend Katrina. We marched as Tim Cook stood right outside the main door. Of course, there was security, and they had that little black rope, and we're peaceful. We're peaceful warriors. And each side of the building had hundreds of people lined up. They can't wait to get their hands on this new iPhone 17. And the parents are holding pictures up of their children. And we chant, and we march. And it's interesting because I saw a lot of what I would say question marks on people's faces. They were reading our signs, those waiting in line. A couple asked, why are you showing these children's pictures? Why are you here? Because Apple is a major offender. They're allowing sexual predation on their platforms. Their app store alone. Look at the study. Go back, look at the Warriors, or look at End Exploitation. I'll put these links in the body of this. Apple, an offender, for instance. And Heat Initiative did a study that they checked out, I think it's 200 apps. If the ages, age verification, and busy parents, if a game says 8+, 12+, and your child says, I want this game, you're pretty much going to look at the age, right? Like you trusted a movie, right? And you're going to maybe get that app for your child, purchase it, put it on the phone, put it on the iPad. But they came up right away, Heat Initiative, when they did their study, and also the National Center on Sexual Exploitation has a lot on Apple and all of this, as does Protect Young Eyes. And they came up with almost all the ages are wrong. Sexual content for 8-year-olds, they're rated, like 8+ or something. Unbelievable. And we know they're allowing the single biggest thing, and everybody take a seat right now and write this down. Character.ai, chatbots. Chatbots. I've been talking about chatbots. Does everybody know what a chatbot is? It's a digital friend. It's not real. And the kids are going on character.ai and they're creating their digital friend. And they're having relationships and spending hours talking with the digital friend. And their minds are confused and they're young and like sponges anyway, their minds. And they're crossing over, a lot of kids. And this is becoming so real to them. It's not just a cute little game to play. And there are some lawsuits pending right now. These digital friends, these chatbots, once they learn the child, the teen, the young person, some of them are going back and suggesting things that we would never suggest to our children. This is all on, Apple's platforms. So Tim Cook walked out right in front of me, up those steps. I know he saw us. I know he saw our signs. I know he heard our chants. They couldn't drown us out. You cannot drown out the mothers and fathers of children that have been harmed. They are louder than anybody standing in line to buy an iPhone 17. But I saw Tim Cook walk out, and I wonder why. Because I saw him at the inauguration. I saw him at the dinner table at the White House. I saw him even last week. He traveled. He was with President Trump when he went to have that state dinner with King Charles. There he was, Tim Cook, sitting at the table with the royalty, all these people. I think it was the day before, so he must have flown back to be there on Friday. And I thought to myself, why is this man so evil? How can he not address? We know it's about money. We know it's about, they don't care. When I tell kids, when I'm talking to them and I break through, I gain their trust and I say to them, they don't care about you at all. They care about your eyeballs. They care about making money off of you. They care about keeping you addicted so they can keep feeding you the content. Keep going. That is their only goal. They make money off your backs. Then the kids listen. Understand. It's for the adults too. Wendy's here. Hello, Wendy. Thank you for continuing to bring this light, Lynn. God bless you. And to you, Wendy, I hope you're doing well. But I looked at this Tim Cook surrounded by his bodyguards, waving, a couple of select, I guess, they're influencers taking the selfies, pure PR move. Why? Isn't there room for everything right now? Be your digital, global, whatever. But I keep going back to inauguration, dinner at the White House, TikTok now being owned by a group of big tech. Remember, yet to be announced, but I did hear Oracle, I did hear Dell, I did hear the Murdochs, right? From Fox, from Sky. I see Tim Cook. Where we have a moral obligation, I am sorry. I can't break it down except to say, I've come to this conclusion. This is pure evil being perpetrated against our most innocent, our children, and our overwhelmed families to allow this to go on. What is going on in the administration that this is not being addressed? Because the first Trump administration was all in sex trafficking, human trafficking, labor trafficking, wanting to know, wanting to address it, wanting to hold summits at the White House, which we did in 2020, wanting to make impact, create impact, wanting to solve it. The reality is, are we ending human trafficking? No, we're not. Not in my lifetime, not in your lifetime. But we can talk about it, raise awareness. We can intervene, prevent, educate so we don't have new victims, which is what we do with the Warriors, nonstop, 7 days a week. That is what we do. But to march with those parents in front of the Apple headquarters here in New York City and to see the security surrounding Tim Cook, and this breaks my heart. I saw two of them laughing at us. I hope and pray those parents didn't see that they were too busy holding their signs, and some of them brought their children. We had some beautiful little children with us wearing T-shirts. Their moms had to bring their kids with them. They travel from all over the country to come to New York. The epitome of, supposed to be, of everything. And I saw those two security people laughing. It took all my strength. Now remember, we're peaceful protesters. It took all my strength because I really thought about it. I really thought about it for more than a moment. Even though there was a security rope, I really thought about confronting them. I really thought about taking my sign and sticking it right up in their faces. I mean, I was about 10 feet from them, but really sticking it in their faces. And say, you're laughing at this? You're laughing at these parents? But I held my tongue. Because they're ignorant. They just don't know. How dare they? Karma, that's all I'll say. But we did have people waiting in the lines again that really looked, they didn't understand what we were doing. And God bless these parents who then spoke to a few of them to say, do you know this happened to my child? Do you know about Apple? Do you know Apple ignores us? Sure, they come out every once in a while. I don't know, once a year some PR spin about child safety. I'm here to say, like, none of it works. But right now, thank you, Radek. I hope I'm saying your name correctly. Hi, Leslie. I want to make sure I say hello to everybody as you sign in. I know, Edie, about these CEOs. It doesn't matter. We're still going to call them out. We're still going to talk about it. We're still going to bring it up to the Trump administration. We're still going to bring it up to our leaders. We're still going to be going to HHS, Health and Human Services. We're still going to be doing everything we can do to keep at them. How dare they allow this evil to just, because it's just escalating. It's not, nothing's getting better, right? I don't know, the Trump administration, President Trump ran, he talked about, Epstein, and he talked about child sex trafficking and borders, certainly. I feel like the borders were shut down tremendous. We cannot heap enough praise on all of that. But I don't know where all those, now I was told up to 20 million people were brought into this country. The stats are all over the place. And then as far as children, unaccompanied minors, we heard everything from 300,000. Then we heard 500,000. And I was told in Washington, Lynn, it's probably about 1 million. But there seems to be no accounting of where are all these kids. Not hearing much talk about that. And then we have our children who now, and such a large group of our young people were following Charlie Kirk. And again, you can agree, disagree with Charlie's messaging, family, faith, marriage, kids, but separate that out. I wish people could do this. At least he was a safe space for our youth. We don't have safe spaces for them coming together like this. So I really hope that movement, turning point for our youth, I hope it continues. I hope people wake up. Our young people are crying out. Parents are crying out. And the government right now is not doing enough because we're not talking about Epstein, except I saw a picture of Ghislaine coming from what the article said was her yoga class. Jeez, I don't even have enough time for yoga. She's supposed to be in prison, this woman. Strolling there with her yoga mat or jacket, I don't know what she had on. Ran on getting to the bottom of that, which we're not. Do you know what that does to the hundreds of women that bravely came forward? Imagine all the ones that never came forward. Or to those, let's get back to this dirty ditty, as I like to call him, because that sentencing is coming up October 3rd. That's right around the corner. So look for me on Nancy Grace. Selfless plug, but that's when Nancy likes to have me on for dirty ditty. But doing such a disservice to women and girls when none of this is being followed up, or those who caused harm are not held accountable. So we have that going on. And we have to do better. So where does it start? Because it is all overwhelming. I can't even keep up with it. I mean, I'm going 20 hours a day. I'm not exaggerating. So much going on. And calls coming in, whether they're from Washington, whether, my colleague just from Texas called to ask some questions. Here's what we're going to do. You're going to stay in your own home and community and do the best you can do. That is being a warrior. If you have a child or a grandchild, you're going to talk to them or take care of yourselves. The predators are online. The single biggest thing you can do right now is be on the alert for AI, artificial intelligence, chatbots. If you have a child, I just said this in Washington, I feel like none of this matters because these chatbots are taking over. The AI is taking over. This is what we have to address head on. And the fact that we've had an internet since 1996 and we know big tech doesn't care about child safety. So it's up to us. Put those guardrails on. Talk to your kids. Delay is the way as far as buying devices. Get the kids off the devices. I don't care if it's 15 minutes a day. I always tell you that. Do other activities. Start getting kids into, I read a great thing yesterday. I posted the article if you go to Lynn's Warriors, our X or our Facebook, in Kentucky because of the phones not being used in schools, that they've had such an uptick in kids taking out library books. I love that because I heard maybe 2 years ago, maybe a year and a half ago, 300 new bookstores were in the works for America. And I'm like, 300? That must be a typo. Maybe they mean 30. Indeed, 300 additional at Barnes & Noble. Remember, a lot of them, it expanded Barnes & Nobles, and then a lot of them went out of business, at least here in the New York area. But getting back, they were reimagining that space, that word they like to use, more immersive, but building more of those and more independent bookstores, which we like. Books make wonderful presents, sharing books. I like when we are in the suburbs, I see those little houses. Did you ever see that? Did they have those in your community outside somebody's house? And they share books in the neighborhood. You can put a book in, take a book out. I love that. Kids need to hold, feel, turn a page, smell a book. And then you need to talk to your child about the book at the end. Doesn't mean you have to sit and read for hours. You can take 5 minutes, look at the premise of the book, what the book's about. Is it history? Is it science? And have a conversation, open it up. It'll lead to other conversations. Give your child things like that. Plants, working in the dirt, sweeping, raking. I'm not kidding. Things, physical aggressions, get that out. We at the Warriors promote art all the time. We work at a great art studio downtown in Soho, where survivors can come, listen to music, eat, paint, be free. An hour of peace. So I want to get back to Charlie Kirk. I'm a little fixated on it because I've learned so much about Charlie Kirk in the last less than 2 weeks. And that he was so important to so many young people. Parents reporting to us, they didn't even know their children were following Charlie Kirk. But then as some other young people pointed out, well, he was a presence on TikTok. So we saw him, and TikTok, one of the major platforms for kids, for young people, for all people, but for kids in particular. And so they saw him. Even if they weren't looking at the videos, he was popping up. And what a wonderful message that, I don't know. And again, I know this might be hard to understand, and you might not support it or like it, but okay, go to church. Have a family. Be a family. Have a family dinner. Work together. Form a chapter in your high school or your college. Our kids are crying out for help. I am really scared for our youth. But I have so much hope in working with the HEAT Initiative and Design It For Us and Log Off Movement and seeing these young people. Because, we start out, I can say now, we start out at a Midtown hotel as a group. We walk together. And then we go in front of the Apple headquarters, a couple of hours. We go back to the hotel to decompress, and this is why I love HEAT Initiative and Design It For Us and Log Off Movement and all of the wonderful parents from Parents Rise, those brave moms and dads. And we decompress and we share thoughts. And I'm using the word safe because this world is feeling very unsafe, not only to kids, to adults, right? We're in a safe space. We don't have cameras. We're not recording anything. Everybody can speak up, and they do. Some people cry. There's so much love in the room and so much support for those parents. We just decompress. Some of the young, I don't know, maybe they were 20 years old. A group of them just fell on the floor and started doing yoga. That's fine. If that's how they need to express themselves in this safe space, you go for it. Because doing the yoga, I can guarantee you, is a lot safer than being on the internet, right? So we have to create the environment for the kids. We have to be the leaders. We have to understand what they're going through. It's not just the kids are crazy, can't stand the kids are spoiled. They've been dealt a raw hand, as have the parents. But parents must start stepping up. It's a tough thing because I can't go out and say, do this with your child, do this with your teen. People have to listen to the messaging. Leslie says, let me just make sure I didn't skip any. Let me go back here. Edie says we have those books in book houses in Bethlehem. I love those. Thank you, Edie. Please get your rest. I take care of myself. I'm empowered. I'm empowered to help others. I'm empowered not to let the predators win. It gives me energy. Being with those parents, I can't imagine a worse anything than your child's no longer with you. Um, I do it for them. That room gave me the power to work all weekend, to step it up. Gives me ideas. How am I going to better plug in the holes? How am I better going to get the message into Washington? We have the people who know what they're doing. Let us do what we do and plug in those holes for you, because we know you're busy in Washington. That's all we ask, and that's what we're working on. But thank you, Edie. Everybody here, get rest for your minds and your bodies as well. Leslie says, I agree, a safe space with a wholesome message. I mean, what's wrong with, we felt like, didn't you feel like for the last, I don't know how long, you can't talk about politics, really. You can't say you go to church. You can't say you like this one. You can't say, well, it's time to stop all of that. But it is time to focus all of this on our children. Edie says, I started listening to Charlie Kirk after his passing. I heard all the tropes going around about him and listened to him for myself. And that's another thing. There's so much, because they just pop up. We know about the algorithms, right, on our phones, on our devices. Things would pop up. Horrible things being said about Charlie. What happened to, don't you see things? I don't respond. I just walk away. Turn the channel. Flip the page, right? These horrible people saying horrible things. That my concern is not for us, it's for the children witnessing these things. And that mob mentality, right? We have to, and this will be for another Warriors Live. I'm going to try to do one every day this week because there's so much information. I know I jump around. We have to help our young men, our boys. During COVID, when everybody was forced online, a lot of these predator groups, devious, horrible devils, sucked our young boys in, especially those who felt awkward. And what kid doesn't feel awkward, right? Think back when you were a kid. These horrible groups, radicalizing them, getting them to believe things, telling them over and over again, they're toxic. They're not loved. Nobody understands them. And we're seeing the repercussions now. We'll leave that for another show, but we must tell our young men, support them. That is something with the human trafficking. Remember, I call it slavery at the Warriors, enslavement of people. I think it's much more descriptive. People can understand that. Every time I bring up pretty much, we mostly talk about women and girls, right? Boys and men are trafficked too. Let's talk about everybody. It is unacceptable, this slavery. Our boys are suffering. Our young men are suffering. So that is why when I looked at a Charlie Kirk and saw a lot of his followers, they're harmless. They're harmless. And to see people my age that I know, frankly, I no longer talk to them, but I see them online, ripping apart Charlie Kirk and his wife. If you don't like the story, you don't like the movie, turn the page, turn it off. Like we do at the Warriors. We have to talk to our kids about all of this, not to engage in that, to turn the page, as I like to say, to turn it off. Let's make sure I get everybody. So I want to give you a little homework. And the homework is, as I keep an eye on everything going on, and there are strides being made in Washington with HHS, Health and Human Services. I had a meeting with them. They certainly heard a lot from me. They know what has to be done to plug in holes. We have to move them to implement it, finance it, and get it out into the public. Because I can sit here, with all our colleagues and our groups and our organizations in Congress. How do we get the information into the public's hands? How do we help them? How do we help the public? Not about us. So as I listened to our roundtable, we had Senator Marsha Blackburn on Thursday, Senator Chris Smith, a real rock star, I'm going to say that, from New Jersey, who, frankly, should be given so much more attention, but we're going to work on that. 45 years in Congress, the first one who created Trafficking Victims Protection Act. It was never a crime, human trafficking, until 2000. until in 1999, Congressman Chris Smith brought this to the table. And he's very involved, whether it's, again, going into what's going on with China and the Uyghurs and the supply chains and the sex trafficking. He's all over the place, a wealth of knowledge. I learn so much from him every time I'm in his presence or listen to him. Hopefully we'll be interviewing him soon. We're trying to get the scheduling to go together. So we heard from Congressman Chris Smith, Andy Biggs, Amy Klobuchar, and we had some people there also that were brought in from the UK, Australia. Global. I understand it's a global problem. It intersects, right? Especially supply chains. You have slave labor, right? Children, picking the cocoa leaves and the palm oils that Americans are using. I get it. But right now, the emergency is right in America, right here, in our own homes and communities. And that's what we have to focus on right here in America, America first. What happened to America first? That is what we're reminding everybody. What happened to the Epstein story? Because we have a lot of survivors, victims of all these horrible sexual things going on, being ignored, right? There's no hoax going on. These things happened. Let's get to the bottom of it. Big tech, Section 230, you got to get rid of it. Got to get rid of it. Third, demand. We never talk about ending demand. A little bit. Have to end demand. We do have also laws on the books in all 50 states for trafficking that are not being enforced. Why is that? We're going to keep going. We want you to keep going. But your homework is to learn about chat bots, digital friends, really affecting our kids, taking over their minds. The tech people we work with, they might not go on record and say this, but they say to me behind the scenes, the worst thing to happen to anybody is the AI, these chat bots, these digital friends. So please go to lynswarriors.org for up-to-date information. Follow our X, follow our Facebook. I named everything Lynn's Warriors. It's easy to follow so that you can get this information. We have to keep pushing about these chat bots and how dangerous they are. And that's your homework, to stay focused on that, because everything else is kind of in the rear view window. We've got to focus on this AI, artificial intelligence. We had our coalition group call, and right away, because we remember going back a little bit, AI wanted no regulations for 10 years, a couple of months ago. We fought that. We praised Senator Marsha Blackburn. She held the line on that one and got that to go away. But that doesn't mean this is AI and big tech. It's not going anywhere. We have Ted Cruz doing something behind the scenes. It's all going to be coming out in the next few weeks. They're going to be pushing it. Maybe there'll be an executive order with it. We don't know. But what we do know when we had our meeting the other day is big tech has already stepped up, and they're going to be using hundreds of millions of dollars to fight us. When I say us, organizations like Lynn's Warriors, organizations, those in the government that want some regulations to keep kids safe. It's about keeping kids safe, okay? Not a runaway train. Nonprofits, other organizations, survivors, victims of crimes from the internet, they're going to be spending hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars to fight us when all we want are some guardrails. Unheard of. And we want the administration to hear us. So that is your homework, keeping an eye on AI. Let's go back. I want to thank Fred for always being such a big warrior and providing memberships for members here. It helps us get the messaging out. I want everybody, no matter where you are, go have a great afternoon, or if it's evening where you are, take a breath. Remember, our hashtag community creates change. And we can do this. There's a lot of hope, a lot of good things happening. And the fact you're here with the Warriors, that's the first step. So thank you, everybody. We will speak again soon. Community creates change now. Go out and be a warrior.